Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's online transactions webinar for processing deposits. My name is Tina Frame, and I'd just like to ask everyone that if you have any questions as we go through the webinar, if you could please put them in the Q&A, and then we can address any questions at the end of the session. So our agenda today is to discuss the benefits of using online transactions. And I'm going to go into a test environment and actually demonstrate a few of the different deposit methods. We'll also be taking a look at our investments training corner, where we have some really great job aids and videos available for you. So the benefits of using online transactions is your forms repository. So what I mean by that is this is where you want to go to access all forms and applications for investments. And that's to make sure that you're always getting the most current version of the form or application. And you'll see as we go through our examples today just how easy it is to submit electronically. We also have built-in edits within online transactions. So it will give you some tips and tricks on what paperwork is required, and it also will let you know if you've not completed a section fully. In order to get your send or your submit capability at the end of your transaction, all of your sections of the form or application must be in complete status. We also have Manulife DocuSign built into a few of our transactions. So it's currently available for the new contract setup, for the additional deposit using one-time pack, and for transfers in and transfers between. So I'm not sure what your level of expertise is in using online transactions, but as of the end of March, we did re-platform the old online transactions to a new platform. So it does have a different look and feel. And in our old platform, you could do the transfer to RIF and submit it electronically using DocuSign, but that is currently not available. They are looking to have that built on the new platform for the end of the year. And as we go through our examples today, you'll just see how it saves time, it's secure, and you always get the date and time stamp for your records. We also recognize that many offices have their own e-signature platforms. So Manulife does accept all of the following e-signature platforms if you have them in your office. We just like to remind you that if you are using your own e-signature platform, it's very important to send a version of the audit documents with your paperwork. And as I mentioned, we do have the new online transactions platform. And as of March 22nd, there are a few changes. So I just wanted to bring them up in today's session. So currently, your new contract for RESP and for immediate annuity, unfortunately, is print only. And I will demonstrate how you would retrieve those contracts if you're looking for those new contracts. Also, new contracts with more than 3 owners and 4 beneficiaries, RESP withdrawals, transfer in kind, guarantee resets, the DCA fund switch as a standalone transaction, the transfer to RIF form, as I mentioned, and the MPIP segregated pools contract householding form as a standalone transaction. So as I mentioned, they are currently all print only for the time being. However, our tech support team is currently working on building new transactions on the platform. So they will be adding these transactions in future releases. Also new as of the end of last year, RepSource migrated to Advisor Portal. So If you were familiar with using the old online transactions platform, you would know that you had to sign into Advisor Portal and then also sign into RepSource in order to get to online transactions. They've now made this a single sign-on for you. So all you have to do is sign into Advisor Portal, and there will be a new homepage that you'll see where you will click to go into online transactions. So from the Manulife Public landing page, you would hover over Sign In and choose Advisor Portal. That's going to prompt you to enter your Manulife Advisor ID and password. And then you would click on Go to Online Transactions. So this is what your new homepage on Advisor Portal looks like after you do your sign-on. You can see if you were familiar with using RepSource, everything has moved over to Advisor Portal. So you can see all of the following are available here for you. And your My Clients has now moved into the top right-hand corner. So you would just click on Advanced Search if you're looking up anything in My Clients. And the Secure Inbox is also located here in the bottom right. So to go to online transactions, you would click here to go to online transactions, and then you're going to see the new homepage for our online transactions and forms. And you'll see that it will list all of the transactions, and supplementary forms are all additional forms that you may need to submit with certain transactions. The supplementary forms are all print only, just so you're aware. So I'm going to go into a test environment now, and we can demonstrate some of the different types of deposits. Before we get started, I just wanted to point out that, as I mentioned, for the time being, new contracts for RESP and immediate annuity are print only. So to obtain those applications, you would go to New Contract, and instead of clicking Save and Continue to continue, this is where you would want to hit the Print button. That's going to bring up this window for you. And under investment type, you would then select the RESP application and click on print. And it will also allow you to save it. The same goes for your immediate annuity if you're looking for that application. You would just switch it to annuity and then click on print. So I'm going to go back here, and on the left-hand side, you'll see Enter Transaction, and you'll see your transaction listing is underneath, and then Deposit History. So we'll take a look at all three of these as we go through, but I'm going to click Enter a Transaction to get back to my home page. So this is where you'll see all of your transactions that you can submit through online transactions. And as I mentioned, supplementary forms are here. So you can just expand on that to see if you need any of these other forms. So for our first transaction today, we're going to walk through doing an additional deposit using the one-time pack. So from our transactions, I'm choosing deposit and transfer, and then you're going to enter your contract number. You'll then click on the search button and it will bring up your contract. So you can click on Save and Continue. And you can see here in the top right-hand corner is a little legend. So it will show you each section of your form or application. It will also show you if it's in complete status or not. So you'll see here that it needs to have the green circle with the check for it to be in complete status. So what we need to do now is add our deposit. So we're going to click on the Add Deposit button. And I'll briefly just walk through the different types of deposit methods. So if I expand here, we can see the different options that you have, and we'll walk through a few of these today. But we do have online banking available as a deposit method. However, this is exclusive to online transactions. And what I mean by that is you can only offer it to your clients if you're going to submit the deposit form through online transactions. And that's simply so everything reconciles properly. You also have your one-time pack, which we're going to demonstrate. And you can see here that we have one-time pack with new banking information. And if you have verified banking on file with Manulife, you may see one-time pack with an account number here. So if the verified banking is the banking you're wanting to use, you can simply select that. Because our contract that we're in right now is an RSP, it gives us the option for RSP loan. And transfer check, that's only used in cases where sometimes advisors, if they're doing a transfer from an external institution, sometimes they'll request the transfer check be sent care of their office instead of direct to Manulife. So that's when you would use the transfer check. Then, of course, you have your client check, which means you'd be submitting a manual check made payable to Manulife signed by your client. We also have the internal areas of Manulife. So if you were doing a transfer between, you would choose transfer between Manulife segregated funds. And then you have your other areas of Manulife. And of course, at the bottom, you would use transfer from another institution when you're doing an external transfer into Manulife. And that's going to create your transfer form for you. So as I mentioned, we're going to walk through doing the additional deposit using a one-time pack. So I'll first demonstrate the verified banking. So we'll choose the one-time pack with the account number. And you can see all we have to do is complete our amount and it will pre-fill the client's verified banking. You do have to click out of it for it to enable your box. So now we can click Add Deposit. And you can see here you always have the option to edit or delete it if you've made an error. So once you've completed a section, you're just going to click on Save and Continue for it to take you to the next section. We can see here we're now in our allocation screen. So online transactions will bring up what the client is currently holding in this contract. If you're wanting to add an additional fund code, you can do so by entering it manually here and clicking Find Fund to validate it. Or you can use the fund table that's built right into online transactions by clicking Find Fund and then Search, and it will bring up a list of applicable fund codes for you. You just have to make sure that your allocation amounts do equal 100%. So for our example, I'm just going to assume we're putting 100% of this deposit into the client's existing fund. You can see you also have your GIA and DIA options at the bottom. Once you've completed your allocations, you're going to click on Save and Continue. And you can see this brings us to our summary sheet. Your summary sheet is the final step before submitting your transaction. And it's a really good practice that once you get to the summary, that you just do a quick proofread through to make sure that all your information is correct. Because as I mentioned, you do have the option to edit if you've made any errors. So we can see that we're requesting the additional deposit using a one-time pack pull with the client's verified banking on record. When I go to the bottom, you can see that with the new OLT platform, they always will have the attachment box for you. If it's required to attach something, it will show an exclamation mark in red. But because this is just enabled, it means that if you did want to send any additional paperwork, for example, if you had a client letter of direction or anything like that, you could have it scanned to your desktop and you can attach that paperwork by clicking on attach document, and then it will allow you to attach your document before you send it to Manulife. You can see here, because we are using the client's verified banking, all that's required for this transaction is date and time of client contact. So I'm going to apply the date and time, and then we can click on send. You're then going to get your verification that your transaction's been submitted to Manulife with the date and time stamp. And you always have the option to print or save a copy for yourself or your client. And you can see that when I pull this up, it also applies the date and time to your paperwork for you. So we're going to walk through that transaction one more time. However, this time I'm going to use the one-time pack with new banking. So we're going to enter our contract, click on search, and then it brings up our policy and we can click save and continue. When I select add deposit this time, I'm going to assume we're using the one-time pack pull, but from the client's new banking information. So again, you're just going to complete your information, but you can see here you have to enter the client's banking information off of their void check. As I scroll down here, you can see that it says attach void check. So what you would do is have a copy of the client's void check scanned to your desktop, and you can click attach void check here and then attach it. So you would just find your attachment, click on open, and you can see that it populates it in here for you. So once you've attached the new copy of the pre-printed void check, you can click on add deposit and then save and continue. Again, you're going to be asked to complete your allocation details. I'm just going to, again, assume 100% of this deposit is going into the client's existing fund and click on save and continue. So now I'm at my summary screen, but when I scroll down, you're going to see that our attachment is here. So here's our void check. And it's giving the option, because Manulife has DocuSign built right in for this transaction. It's letting you know we do require a client signature for the new banking information. So what you would do at this point, again, if you have any additional paperwork you're wanting to send in with a transaction, if you're using DocuSign that's built right into the transaction, you want to make sure that you're always attaching your paperwork first, because once you click on DocuSign, it's going to proceed with obtaining the electronic signatures. So if you do have anything, you want to click Attach Document first. For this case, we've already attached our void check, so I'm going to select DocuSign and click on Send. If you were wanting to use your own e-signature platform or have the client sign the paperwork, at this point you would just simply click on the print button and then it will bring up your pre-filled form for you, which you can print off. But we'll demonstrate this using Manulife's DocuSign built right in. So now I can click on Send, and then we're going to get a verification that our transaction's been submitted to Manulife. So what has been sent to Manulife at this point is a pre-filled copy of our form and a copy of our void check. However, we need to click here now to obtain electronic signatures. When you're using DocuSign built in, it's going to, depending on how you complete your application or your form, it will determine who the required signers are. So for this situation, you can see that the advisor and the owner are required to sign. The steps are noted here, but what you need to do is enter a unique email address for each signer, as well as a unique access code. And you're going to want to keep track of your access code because if you're an assistant filling this out for an advisor or back office, you're going to need to provide the access code to the advisor and the client. Very important as well. In a case where you may be doing joint owners, let's say for a new application, they do need their own unique email address, so they can't use the same email address. You can see here as well that underneath we have this free form where you can enter an email address or an access code for yourself as well. So if you are an assistant filling this out or a back office staff, or you have a back office staff that likes to keep a copy of the forms, you can enter an email address for yourself for them as well and assign another access code. What happens is once the final e-signature has been completed, everyone listed here will receive a second email with the fully signed paperwork. So once you've entered your email addresses and access codes, you can click send. And again, it's really important to double check your email addresses because obviously if it's not a correct email address, the client will not receive it. So then you're going to click on send. And you can see here in your legend, it tells you each step that's been completed. So now it's telling us that our emails have been sent and each signer will receive an email from DocuSign to complete their electronic signature. We do note here as well that it's very important that we ask that you don't send access codes via email for security reasons. It's a better practice to let them know by phone or text. So I'm just going to go into my email and show you what that's going to look like. I'm just going to move this over for you. So each signer will receive an email like this. And you can see here, it does note to please complete your electronic signature prior to 4 p.m. So when you're using DocuSign, there are different expiry dates, but when you're doing a pack pull, we do request that you let your client know they should be signing it right away. It's always a good practice when you're using DocuSign to let them know it's best to sign it right away. However, with a new contract, you have about 12 days before it will expire. So each signer will click on the review document, and then it's going to ask for your access code. So the advisor would put in their access code and the client would put in their access code. It's going to ask you to agree to complete electronic signatures and then click on continue. So you can see it brings up our pre-filled form. And when I click on start, it's going to take me right to where I'm required to sign. So for this example, I'm assuming the role of the client. So it takes me to the client area where we're required to sign. The advisor's experience will take them to the area they're required to sign. So you simply click on the sign, adopt and sign, and then click finish. And again, once the final e-signature has been completed, each the advisor and the client will both receive an email with the fully signed paperwork. At the same time, a copy of the fully signed paperwork will automatically go to Manulife, so you don't have to send anything further. when you're using DocuSign that's built right in. So I'm going to go back to enter a transaction again. And for our next example, we're going to walk through doing a new contract. And we're going to use a client check as our deposit method. So I'm going to select new contract and I'm just going to click on save and continue. I'm in a test environment, so it's going to bring up a bunch of false information here. However, in your version of online transactions, you should have your advisor codes listed. And if you do have a FundServe code, we do ask that you use your FundServe code when you're using online transactions. So you would enter your advisor code and click Save and Continue. This is going to prompt you to select your product and contract type. And you can see because I've chosen RSP, it populated the spousal box for me. So if it's a spousal RSP, you would just select the box. This brings us to our owner information. In the previous platform, we had a Find Owner button in online transactions. So actually, it looks like they may have just added it. They were working on adding it. Um, I'm going to see. No, it's not bringing it up. So they are working to have that integrated back into the new platform. But for the time being, you will have to enter all of the client's information manually. They are looking to have that re-added though, because in the old platform, you could enter the client's name and click Find Owner for it to bring up a list of the owner's information, and it would just pre-populate their information for you. So that is something that they're also looking to add in a future release. So you would just complete your information. And I'm just going to scroll down. And then you would click Save and Continue. You can see here in your legend, it's showing this section as optional. So as I mentioned, when you're using online transactions, every section must be in complete status before you can get your submit capabilities. However, if it's an optional section, what it means is you do not have to complete it if it doesn't apply. So you can see here that I have the option to assign a successor annuitant in this case. However, like I mentioned, if it doesn't apply, you can simply bypass the section, being it's optional, by just clicking Save and Continue. This brings you to your beneficiary screen. And your beneficiary does need to be completed, again, to get your submit capabilities. And you just want to make sure that your beneficiary does equal 100%. You also have the option to assign a secondary beneficiary if you'd like. So once you've completed your beneficiaries, you're going to click Save and Continue. This brings us to our deposit screen. So when I click on Add Deposit, this time I'm going to select Client Check. So this means that your client has an actual check made payable to Manulife, signed by the client. And then we'll click on Add Deposit and Save and Continue. Again, this is a pack setup. So you can see that this too is an optional field. So what this means is if you were wanting to set up an ongoing pack for this client to have a regular pack pull into this contract, then you would complete this section. However, because it's optional, if it doesn't apply, you don't have to complete it and you can just click Save and Continue. Brings us to our allocation screen again. And as I mentioned, if you know your fund codes, you can enter them manually here and click Find Fund. But you can also use the fund table that's built right into OLT. And to access that, you click on Find Fund and then Search. And that brings up a long list of applicable funds for you. If you wanted to, you can filter this list further by, for example, adding a keyword, or you can also search by load type and click search, and it will just filter your list further for you. So you would just add your fund and click continue. You would repeat that until you've added all of your clients' fund codes. And then, of course, you want to make sure that your allocation amounts are 100%. So once you're done your allocations, you can click on Save and Continue. And you can see that we're already at our contract summary. So when I scroll down, again, you can just double check your work here because you still have the option to edit. But when I scroll down to the bottom, it's telling us that we do have the ability to use DocuSign that's built right in for this transaction. So you could select DocuSign and complete the DocuSign process like we demonstrated in the last example to get the client signatures. However, we also have the attach and send option. So I'm going to show you that option as well. So I'm going to go to the top, and when I click on print here, as I mentioned, you may want to use your own e-signature platform for the signatures or just have the client sign the application manually. So what you would do at this point is print off your pre-filled application, and then you would obtain your signatures. So once you're done having your paperwork signed, whether it's your own platform or manually, you can go back into online transactions and still submit this electronically. So even if it's a couple days down the road before you actually get your paperwork signed, you would just log back into online transactions and your transaction listing here. I'm going to click on it, stores the last 90 days worth of transactions. Now, because we've just recently platformed to the new platform, it's only going to store any new transactions since March. However, in the future, it will store automatically the last 90 days. And when you go into your transaction listing, you can search by contract number or any of the above criteria and click on search. So we can see here ours is at the top. So I'm just going to click on it. And it's going to take you right back into where you left off. So in this case, we've completed all of our sections, and all we want to do is submit this electronically. So I can go down to the bottom and I can do attach document, and then I can attach my signed paperwork. So you would have the signed application scanned to your desktop, and then you can just attach it. And then once I click on send, so you can see we've attached our paperwork, you would click on send. And then you get the verification that your transaction has been submitted to Manulife. So this is a nice way to submit it electronically because when you're submitting directly through online transactions, your business is going to go right into the admin work queues. So it's even nicer than using the secure email to send in your paperwork because the email, people have to actually retrieve the emails. So this saves a lot of time and your paperwork will go right into the work queues. Now, because we selected the manual check for this example, there is one other thing that you need to do. So you're obviously still going to have that manual check from the client that you need to send into Manulife. And we do ask that you send it directly to Manulife, not to a back office, just to avoid duplication. But what you need to do if you are submitting a client's check is you do need to do your deposit history. So I'm going to click here and you can see that we have this open. Now you only have to do this one time per day, but it does need to be done every time you're sending a manual check. So if I click on it, you can see number of checks. So you would enter however many checks you're sending in and then click submit. And what it's going to do then is you'll have the ability to click on print and it's going to give you a banking deposit summary. And what you'll want to do is then attach the actual manual checks and send them with this form directly to Manulife. And then it makes it very easy for admin to match the checkup with the application. So going back to our transactions, for our last deposit, I was going to demonstrate online banking. As I mentioned, online banking is exclusive to OLT, so you can only offer it to your client if you're going to submit the deposit form through online transactions. And online banking, as many people are already aware of making bill payments using their online banking, this is the same idea. So your client does need their contract number. And what they would do is go into their online banking portal and they would actually set up a specific payee, which is Manulife Investments Seg GIA. And there is a job aid for both the client and the advisor for this. But they would simply set up the payee with their contract number, and then they would make the bill payment or move the money. So just like you would for Bell or anything else. Once the client has done their portion, you would submit the deposit form through online transactions. So to do that, we're going to click deposit. We're going to enter our contract number. Click on search, save and continue. We're going to add our deposit. So we're going to select online banking. We're going to enter the amount that the client moved. We're going to click on add deposit. Again, it's going to bring up your allocation screen. So I'm just going to assume, again, that we're putting 100% of this deposit into the client's existing fund. And you can see that we're already at our summary sheet. So it's showing that we're doing an online banking deposit and it's giving the instructions for admin. And when I scroll down, all that's required for this transaction is date and time. So I can simply apply my date and time and click send. And then you have that transaction or the verification that it's been submitted to Manulife with the date and time stamp. So you can see how fast and easy it is to use online banking as a deposit method if you're using online transactions. A couple of really important things to note, however, if you're offering online banking, you want to make sure that your client is aware that they shouldn't just be doing deposits whenever they like. They should always be consulting you because it's very important that the deposit form be sent the same day so that the money reconciles properly. If a client's doing a deposit on their own, it's going to cause trouble because admin is not going to know where the money is supposed to go. So that's the most important takeaway. However, you can see how fast and easy it is to submit your additional deposits using online banking. And the nice thing about it is you don't have to worry about sending a copy of a void check. You don't need a client signature, and you don't have to worry about NSF charges. So it's a great way to submit your additional deposits, especially through RSP season. And again, every transaction, you always have the option to still print it at the end to save a copy for your own records or for your client. So I'm just going to go into our live advisor portal right now and show you our investments corner. As I mentioned, there's a lot of great job aids available for you. So you would just sign in to Advisor Portal. And to get to our investments training corner, you could use the side legend here and go into training and CE center. Or once you're in online transactions, you can actually find the training corner at the bottom. You can also find here, you can see there's webinars. So any ongoing training sessions, you can just click here and it will take you to the registration page of any upcoming training webinars that are available. And you can just register for a date and time that's convenient for you. We also have the training corner, and your support button here is contact information. So if you're needing Manulife's address or the investments call center number, you can find it in the support area. So I'm going to go into the training corner, and you can see here, it gives you all of the options here. But there's a lot of great information in our investment training corner to do with investments in general. So it's not just specific to online transactions. So you can see there's information on my clients, my seg fund book, eTrack and eDocs, advisor portal, etc. And then you have all of our online transactions. So if you're looking for information on new contracts, you could go into this tile. I'll select transactions. And you can see here, as I mentioned, we have the online banking job aid. But see here, you would just pick what transaction you're on. So here it's on deposits. If you're looking for information on a transfer, you can select transfers. It will give you any job aid or video associated with that transaction. Going back to the deposit, you can see here the online banking. If I select that job aid, you can see it just gives you a step-by-step tutorial. And it's really easy to follow along. So if you're doing a transaction that you've never done before, or you just need a refresher or specific information, you can go into the job aids directly, and it gives you a step-by-step walkthrough or tutorial showing you how to exactly submit the transaction. There's also a lot of great information in here. For example, we have our in good order requirements that a lot of people find helpful. Um, so you could pick, and again, you're just going to select. So if you're looking for something on segregated funds and GIAs, you make sure it's on that tab. For example, RSPs we have, if you select that, and it will bring you up some really great information here. It will give you, for example, if you wanted information on the grant application, if I select that, it will bring this up for me, and it actually gives you the access to the government RESP forms right in our job aid. So there is a lot of great information in here and tools for you to access. At the end of the session today, I will actually send everyone a direct link to the training corner so that you could take a look around and just find some different information that may be helpful for you. I would like to just remind you that if you are contracted through an MGA or a national account, and you find that you don't have submit or send capabilities at the end of your transaction, we ask that you reach out to your back office as they have to provide Manulife with the authorization as to how they'd like to integrate online transactions with their advisors. So you should go to them if you're having any issues with access. If you're in the middle of a transaction, or you're having any issues, especially time sensitive, we ask that you reach out to the Manulife Investments Contact Center and they'll be able to help you. Also, an important note is if you do use Manulife DocuSign built into a transaction, and let's say you have entered the client's email wrong. In order to reopen that, so it means they would not receive the papers to e-sign. We ask that you don't resubmit the transaction. You can just call the call center, and they are actually have the authority to open up the DocuSign envelope, and they can redirect it to the client's proper email. So if you have that situation as well, you would always go to the investments contact center. And the numbers can be found in the support section in the investments training corner. So if anyone has any questions, if you could please put them in the Q&A, we could address them. As I mentioned, I will send a link directly in an email to you after today's session, but you will need to be signed in to Advisor Portal in order to access the links. So I'm just going to double check if we have any questions, but it doesn't seem that we do. So that does conclude today's session. And I'd just like to thank everyone for joining, and I hope you all have a great day. Thank you.